On the edge of a small village, a forgotten path wound through the dense, twisted forest. Few dared to walk it after dusk, for it led to a mysterious lake known as the Whispering Waters. Legends spoke of strange voices that drifted from the lake on foggy nights, whispering secrets to those who ventured too close. One evening, Clara, a curious young woman new to the village, dismissed the tales as mere superstition. She had always been intrigued by the paranormal and believed there was a logical explanation for everything. Determined to uncover the truth behind the whispers, Clara decided to visit the lake. It was a chilly autumn evening when she set off down the path. As she walked, the sun dipped below the horizon, and the forest grew dark. The air became heavy, and a thick fog slowly began to roll in, creeping through the trees like ghostly fingers. Clara's lantern flickered as she reached the lake's edge. The surface of the water was still, unnaturally so. The fog hung low over the lake, swirling lazily, as if alive. A shiver ran down Clara's spine, but she shook it off. "It's just fog," she told herself. She knelt by the water, hoping to hear the whispers for herself. For several long minutes, there was only silence. The world around her seemed to hold its breath. Then, faintly at first, she heard it. A whisper, soft and unintelligible, like a distant murmur carried by the wind. Clara leaned in, straining to make out the words. The whispering grew louder, as if coming from the very fog itself. Suddenly, the voice was clear, and it spoke her name. "Clara." She gasped and stood, her heart racing. She looked around, but no one was there. The fog thickened, and the whispering voices multiplied. They spoke in unison now, calling her name over and over. "Clara! Clara!" Panic surged through her. She stumbled back, her foot slipping on the wet ground. The voices grew louder, as they began to chant something else, words she couldn't quite understand, but they filled her with a deep, primal fear. The fog twisted, forming vague shapes, figures emerging from the mist, featureless but unmistakably human. They floated toward her, reaching out with long, misty arms. Clara screamed and turned to run, but her legs felt heavy, as if the fog itself clung to her, dragging her back. The voices grew louder, echoing inside her mind. She collapsed to the ground, clutching her head, trying to block out the sound. But the whispers wouldn't stop. They filled her thoughts, drowning out everything else. She could feel the fog closing in, wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. The last thing Clara heard before the darkness consumed her was a whisper of her own name. When the villagers found her the next morning, Clara lay motionless by the lake, her eyes wide open, her face frozen in terror. The fog had lifted, but the whispers lingered in the air.